Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So I think I've been looking for work today, and I think what I'm going to go with is I'm going to try this run of TVs within Oregon here. So I had spent the better part of, I don't know, probably 10 minutes trying to figure out what I wanted to take, and ultimately just really didn't have a good answer, because it was a trade-off of distance and something that frankly I could park, because to some degree part of the things in this series, one of the things I've said I was going to try to do is be realistic and stay in cab when I'm parking, as opposed to kind of do the flyover camera and so forth. But obviously with a double or a triple, you can't back up. So it guarantees that this is not going to have a parking portion of the episode, which is okay. But what I'm also trying to figure out at this point is how long this is going to take, because this is the extreme end of my... Whoa. I kind of assumed they were all turning left and then realized that I don't have an arrow, so I can't assume that. But it worked out. But part of what I was struggling with then is, do I want to make things a little bit longer? Because I think it's cleaner to run a load in an episode than it is to try to get two loads, and then I'm kind of playing this weird game and so forth. So what I was finding is there were short loads that paid well per mile, but then they'd be 15 or 20 minutes, and it just seemed like a little bit shorter than I'd like. I'd like to keep the episodes around half an hour if I can, because I think that's what people seem to enjoy. So, the contractor process, as we've talked about, you just kind of continue through time. So that was the other thing. If I can find a longer run through the evening, the other benefit it has is then I will just have one episode in the dark, and then, again, it'll kind of work out either way, but because I don't really sleep as a contractor, because that's just not how the game works, you then are driving when they give you the load. So let's see. Alright, for some reason this is also showing me things. Wait. Is this where I wanted to go? Did I? It's not telling me it's the wrong way. This just seems weird. It like seems like I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. But I think that's where it told me to go, so in any event, so right. Keep right, okay. So we're heading toward Bend. I know this is, I don't think there's any interstate here. I think this is just a drive through the country with a bunch of TVs, so there's people who need entertainment down here, obviously. Police car. As we just get past midnight, move into Wednesday. But yeah, it should be about 4 hours, it's telling me, in game. So we're going to get there 4:30, 5 a.m. So the good news is then next time we'll be having some daylight. But it was really, when I was looking for the load, it was distance and also a good amount of pay, if I could, because there were things that ranged from like $8 a mile to, I think this one was 30 or something, because otherwise we're just getting small chunks of cash, which also kind of slows any real progress, which is okay. But the goal is more, hey, if I could find both, a good distance job with a decent payout, and I was struggling to do that in an area that I hadn't really been to. So to some degree, I mean, I think, end up with my delivery city being somewhere I haven't been, but I've been to both of the cities I'm starting at and passing through. So we've got the rest area there, but as I said, because you usually start out fresh as a contractor, you're usually able to just keep going. So let's see if I can speed up a bit here. So I'm not quite sure, because I was thinking that the SimHub dashboards I was using were working better, but they're still showing me kilometers an hour, so I don't understand. So I thought it was a Sim dashboard problem, but now I'm wondering if it is. Because, yeah, this is the speed I'd like to go if I'm on a 60-mile-an-hour road. But, it's just kind of a desolate space anyway, even if we were going through here during the daylight, where I might be able to comment a little bit more on what we're seeing. It just looks like a lot of scrub and kind of flat land, which is interesting for Oregon, because I tend to think of Oregon as more forested and mountainous, or hilly at least, but that could also be areas closer to the coast, which, you know, we're headed in that direction, I believe, but not there yet. So we're going to Eugene, Oregon, which I don't remember. It used to be like, I don't know if there were just like a couple gaming companies there in the 80s, but for some reason I just remember that. Like, I used to think, oh, that's like the best place. That must be a cool place to live, because, you know, my favorite companies were out there when I was 10 or whatever. So, favorite company's a relative thing at that point, obviously. Alright, so make sure we slow down. Oh boy, come on. I'm hitting the brake, but it's definitely struggling a bit there. Alright. So this is Bend, Oregon. Alright. Interesting. Like, on the mini-map, I don't even see the name, which is unique, because usually if it's going to discover it, it's close enough to see that, but I think we've come and gone to Bend at this point. I assume the speed limit will change here shortly. Probably not, but it also looks like this is red. So, the City of Bend Public Works, next left. So that's what that building with the flag is. That's an old car in front of us. Not like crazy fins, but certainly more fins than anything you'll see on cars today. So cycle up through the gears as we pull away. We've got JPMT next to us, whatever that happens to be. So maybe we're not. Well, there we go. Now we can see. So Bend must be bigger than I thought, because now we can see it. So we're not leaving town yet, and I need to get to the right, so I better get over there, because I can see that's the way the road works here. So I'll leave my signal on.
Right, and then turn right.
All right.
Turn right.
forgot on this. I can change this to miles. There's a button on my dashboard. Silly me. Alright, well now I feel better. Because I was, again, like, I can't tell you anything because it's all in kilometers, including the distance. But no, I still have 130 miles to go, so we're about halfway. That was a long light, it seemed like, but I suppose when we want to go somewhere, I suppose that would be what it felt like. But yeah, what I'm thinking is it might be worthwhile to expand the distance a bit, but once again, this is partially why this is a bit of an experiment, to see how everything plays out, to see, because if these are like 25 minutes or something, then maybe a 350 mile run would be a little bit better, and that will just help us spiderweb out into the map a little bit more. Alright, so we're heading off here. That retaining wall was a little bit intimidating. Alright, so now are we getting on some sort of a high-speed road? A little bit. I don't know that this is... Yeah, this is just a state route. It looks like it was State Route 97. I mean, this is a road that we haven't traveled on, so it was interesting that in theory we've been to these cities. But maybe I was just misreading the map or something, I don't know. Alright, it's also interesting here that... Alright, so my adaptive speed is working, which is fine because we're going over the speed limit. Because right now my cruise is set for much higher than this.
Right. And then exit right.
Oh, I guess that means we're going here.
Exit right.
So we didn't stay on this road for very long. So definitely an interesting route. This definitely is not one that I expected. It's a lot of kind of switching back and forth between highway and non-highway and so forth, because yeah, I'm assuming this is now going to be a 2-lane local road again. This is just a strange setup. I don't... Like, this is not an intersection I recall being at regularly or at any point, so... I do like the fact then this is turning out to be a better route than I thought for keeping me entertained, if nothing else. So hopefully it's keeping you a little bit entertained. Again, I kind of apologize for being in the dark, but the good news is it doesn't look like there's a ton of scenery out there. So we are in a Western Star 49X for this. So this was one I did like, the instrument panel layout and so forth. I think in the series, the Coast to Coast series, I think this was what I was using as the truck I owned. So for a long time, most of my gameplay when I became an owner-operator was in a Freightliner, because that's definitely one I really enjoy too. And now they've got that fancy dashboard that's kind of all digital since I think 2022. That got moved into game, so we've got that available. But what I'm not a huge fan of is kind of the old school dials, that it's just harder to see anything, and you know, more the trip meters and things like that aren't easily visible. And as I say that, I don't know that the display I have now has that on there either. So let's see. Yeah, I think it's there, but I've inadvertently reset it. So we're down to 98 miles, so about 100 miles on that trip meter is what we need. Alright, so a little bit of hills. Now we're going to see. I'm going to cover the brake, but I'm kind of going to let my adaptive speed control do its thing and hope that I don't crash into someone. So in theory, it should be slowing me down. Alright, it did. Because I was like, it's just telling me 63, and I'm kind of coming up on this guy, but it worked out. So the benefit that has here is in a mountainous road like this is where a lot of times, like, I'd have cruise on, but then I was stuck. So a swift truck going by the other way. It's a pretty big carrier. So not unexpected, but yeah, what I'm starting to, I guess, see is a little bit of the downside, I suppose, of how I'm running this series at this point is, hey, I'm just sticking with base maps. Out west here, a lot of the states do have the fact that it's legal to have these multi-trailer setups. The doubles and the triples are allowed, and it just seems I'm getting a lot of those as the loads that I've had for this series so far. Where obviously if I was doing other things, or because the result always is like any load you're carrying, per how the game works, where it's point to point, pick up, drop off, you do the whole load. I've talked about in the past that, you know, it'd be nice if they introduced like the LTL, the less than truckload dynamic into the game, I think, because that way you're picking things up, you're dropping things off. You could make it interesting and just even stay local. You know, you could become a local trucker and just run your route every day, and that could kind of be what you're doing, and you're just dropping off, picking up 5-6 different things, and that would make an interesting episode, I would think. But because I think like a trucker could say haul a double now, and then if I'm moving into a state that doesn't allow them, at some point I would obviously just have to drop and hook the trailer, you know, just drop the trailer somewhere, the back one, and someone else would do whatever they're doing with it in an area that you could drive with that. But, you know, I could continue into states that don't allow doubles and triples. So that ends up being some of the things, like when I was doing coast to coast, where if the states we were going all the way across, since that those aren't the rules, and so it didn't seem like they had broken them in the map mod, like the coast to coast mod and Midwest expansion and all of that, that I had more the traditional dry van or whatever it was, because that's what you needed. So here it almost seems like doubles or triples, and then, whoa, I didn't realize, why is he going so slow? Maybe the light just changed? I don't know. I didn't see that was, really? I didn't know that was gonna be the situation. Alright, well, he got the message. But yeah, there's Eugene, so that's where we want to go. Let's get up to the light before the other one starts to turn, or we won't get the turn signal maybe. But, again, I forget what I was talking about, so that's not good. I got so freaked out by that close call that I absolutely knocked myself out of my train of thought. So if it was interesting, I'm sorry, because I don't know that I'm going to recall it, because now we're just 29 miles away, so we're getting close to the delivery and the end of what we're doing here. Oh yeah, I was talking about doubles, triples, this and that. So the loads I keep finding, like single loads end up being like heavy haul. Like it's hauling a flatbed with a giant piece of equipment on it, a harvester or a truck or whatever, and then everything else is doubles or triples. So there isn't any kind of in between, you know, getting tankers, stuff like that, because part of what I'd like to do is now, because I'm not doing anything in this series, I wasn't doing anything in this series with the economy, I guess, at any point, but like I use this for my VTC for Viva
And then exit right.
um, to get the credit, and I'm in the hazmat
Exit right.
special group there, so I'd love to get some hazmat loads. And I think, like, part of what I'm toying with is if I go to the owner operator route, like, what would I do? And that's some of what I'm toying with, is maybe I just say, hey, I'm a hazmat hauler, and then I'm really focusing on that, and it's like I'm doing a little bit of my VTC focus here, a lot more than I normally do. Where normally, I mean, yes, I book the loads and get credit for them, but there's bonuses if I run in the group I'm specializing in. And I think, I was looking at hazmat, I was looking, I think, at reefer, but there were just tons and tons of people in reefer, and hazmat had a little bit less, but those were kind of my top two that I had as choices. Alright, I need to be over to the right here.
Keep right. And then turn right.
So, Eugene looks very compact here, but I didn't think it was that small, but because I've been here before, but obviously it's been a while because I don't remember this at all.
Keep right.
Alright.
And then turn right.
So we're going to have to go around. So I'm sure there's a dealer and a recruitment center here, which become important if I start adding drivers or whatever, but we're still a ways away if I start doing that or not. Alright. So I don't know, maybe this is the right length, because this, like, I don't have a clock in front of me, but this certainly feels like it's been half an hour. So this might be what I need to stick with, but, then at least, the benefit now is because I have so many cities unlocked, I have a lot of options for loads, which is always nice. But once again, on the parking, we're not going to have to do anything, and that also means we don't get any special credit. So experience is not going to be great either. But here we are. TV's delivered. Yeah. Just before 4:30, but all we got was the 25 experience. But we do get a lot for the mileage, so if you recall, we were getting little chunks, and obviously each level is a bigger number of experience to move from one to the other. So the fact that we got like a third at least is actually pretty good. So that gives us a good run there. Next one, we'll certainly be seeing some daylight, so I hope to see you back next time.